Now that girl there is looking through his earlobe. And by the way, these markings, those are African tribal tattoos. All this stuff came from Africa, by the way. Goes all the way back to Babylon, and they're Hamites too. Started in Africa. The bad music we got today came from Africa, and the tattooing and body piercing came from Africa. It's tribal stuff, it's pagan, it's ungodly, all of it. Let's have the next one. Talk about nails in the head. All right, Carl, give me the next one. That little thing there goes through his skin there, and it falls around like that. Let's see. Notice his little ponytail on his beard there. Jed, if you ever do that, I'm going to church you. All right, give me the next one. Now, how could that guy talk playing with his lip done like that? How could he even eat? And by the way, I'll never let him work on my computer. I don't even want him in my house. That goes through his nose up there. All right, let's see the next one. You don't have to wear your rings, just embed them in your fingers. Isn't that crazy? Give me another one, Carl. Oh. Now this guy has all these rings are embedded in his neck, and then he laces it like a shoe around there. These little pins are separate in his neck as well. Do what? Somebody should. Okay, give me one more. How about diamonds on the teeth? Anybody want that? Crazy. I think that's a girl, I'm not sure. The picture, that's all the picture there is, so I'm not sure. Let's go to the next one. Now you see what these rings do when you take them out? Look at that. Isn't that hideous? Hideous. And these are tribal markings as well. All that stuff. Okay, give me the next one. This goes through his, behind his lip, over his lip, back up, through his lip, over his lip, back through and over here. Okay, let's have another one. Now, I cut off the bottom of that picture because I didn't like the tattoos on these guys' chests. But both of them are giving the devil sign with their hands. Y'all familiar with that? Okay. As one preacher says, looks like he fell in a tackle box. Crazy, crazy. And that's on in his tooth. There's one in his tongue. By the way, you ever see somebody with them in their tongue? Makes me wonder how they can talk plain. Yeah. Yes, sir.
None of these people look like they're enjoying it.
I was going to point that out. I'm glad you brought that up. None of them are smiling.
No.
We'll run into one or two that are smiling. Most of them are not. What have they got to be happy about anyway? And I can't imagine, poking a hole here might be one thing, but through your tongue. You ever bite your tongue? Good night. They're going to drill a hole through it? And not only a hole through it, some of them go so far as to split the tongue and make it forked. Give me the next one, Carl. Notice the bumps in the head. This is a Klingon, by the way. Some of you old TV watchers know what that would be. Sir.
Seriously, there are people trying to look like Klingons in the image.
Oh, I know. And they do all kind of things under their skin. How could anybody be happy with that? I just don't understand it. Let's see. Give me another one, Carl. Each one of those is a separate piercing. And by the way, you can see, if you can see down on the picture, they go all the way up his legs, but he's taking them out up at this point. Crazy stuff. This next guy looks like the devil. He's got horns. There's 9 horns embedded in his top up there in his skull. This thing here goes through right there, and then it just drips down. That is tribal things on that nose ring there. And he's got markings on his chin. You probably can't see much of that. Did my battery just go dead? No, not there. Okay. This next one's going to shock you. Go ahead. Can this guy be happy at all? I mean, come on, isn't that the stupidest thing you ever saw in your life? What kind of friends would he have except a bunch of weirdos? The purpose of that is to cut his steak as he eats it. And by the way, those nose holes on the side, you saw a while ago when they take them out, what that looks like. He's got humongous holes in his earlobes. He's got one right here through his chin, and he has the tribal markings on him as well. I'm not sure, but if that's a bump or not, it looks like one. Okay. This next guy looks like a bulldog. Go ahead. Cut holes in his cheeks. Put the things in there. I forgot what they call them. Doesn't he look like a bulldog? And I guess he thinks he's some kind of monk or whatever, devil worshiper. Go with the next one. Spike through the leg. It's just behind his ankle. I don't know what keeps these people from getting gangrene and whatever. Yeah, I guess so. Give me the next one. All right, now this next one is reputed to be the most pierced woman in the world. Put the next one up. Quite a few, don't she? Running up her nose. She has no eyebrows. This is puffed up. Got stuff down there with her eyebrows. She's smiling. She's all it is. But, all right, let's look at somebody's back. Go ahead. Every one of those is a piercing. You imagine this guy has to take all of that before he can lay down and go to sleep at night. Have somebody put it all back in there in the morning. Isn't that crazy?
About that,
Sure.
I just heard on the radio last week, this man had his parachute pierced into his body. He jumped out of the airplane like that. Could you imagine? I mean, what's the point? Years.
I don't know. It's crazy. Now, this next one's going to spook you. Go ahead, Carl.
Oh my God.
Now, he's got a ring holding his mouth open. He's got an opening underneath his lip, and this snake is coming through it. He's got holes in the side of his nose. And of course, his big earlobes and all that stuff. You suppose that guy, you could understand if he talked to you? What is their point? Are they trying to... What?
You say these things come from Africa?
I said that's where it started. Cuttings and tattoos, yeah.
You don't see that in Africa, do you?
Well, I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that in Africa, but I've seen some weird stuff on some of the tribal people.
Those are guys over here, huh?
Oh yeah, all these pictures are here. These are people down at Walmart. If you don't find them at Walmart, they'll be the clerk in the health food store. Weird people, man. Let's see. Snake, okay. Now, we got a Ubangi next. Go ahead. He's got his lower lip with a plate in it. These are tribal markings. This other stuff is just other stuff.
Is that his back like that?
Do what?
That metal hook?
That's in his back, yes. Sure is. He's got one coming on the other side, and I don't know. That's all the picture I got, but he could be hanging. They do that too. Yeah, suspended. What?
Somewhere there's a big group with a camera taking a picture of it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I thought.
Weird, crazy. Okay, show the next one. Now, this is just a picture of a tattoo. Does anybody know what that is on this guy's back? That's an Aztec god. Okay, there's his eyes, his beak, his crown. Aztec. A lot of these things are gods and goddesses involved in tattoos. Okay, let's see the next one. The next one's a different view of this same guy. Go ahead. You see how those rings on the bottom are pulling his lip down? They're going to deform it. Of course, he's already deformed anyway. He's not satisfied with the earlobe hole. He's got them all over his ears. And notice these things here go through and out up at the top and across his nose there. All right, put the next one on. Now, you see those cheek pins there? They come all the way through and come out down here. Up to her cheek.
That must be an African.
I don't know. That's probably in America. Give me the next one. It's another one here. What is somebody's point? I don't understand this. That is crazy. Okay, give me the next one. Nyx is the Greek goddess of the night. She is evil. She brings death. Her two sons, one of them is Thanatos, which means death. The other one is, I can't think of his name, but he means sleep. But the thing I want you to see there, now this is just a tattoo they can put on you. That's not on somebody. But what's coming out the mouth of this skull and going around it? It's fire. It's fire. You know the Bible says that about the devil in Job 41? Flames come out of his mouth and they engulf him. Nyx lives in Tartarus, which is the lowest portion of Hades in Greek mythology. Now Tartarus is what's translated hell in 2 Peter, where the angels of sin are in chains of darkness in hell awaiting judgment. And so that's where the house of Nyx is. And by the way, that's a goddess, not a god, and she's the only goddess that Zeus, which is the chief god of the Greeks, Zeus fears Nyx because she's older than him and more powerful than him. So he kind of stays away from her in Greek mythology. Okay, by the way, the name is spelled different ways, N-I-X, N-Y-X, and so on and so forth, several different ways. All right, give me the next one. That's a skull on somebody's arm, I guess, or leg or somewhere. Back of his leg, it looks like. I don't know where it is. Skulls are prominent in tattoo work. This next one is a circus freak. That's what he would have been in my day. This guy's tattooed from head to toe. I think I mentioned this the other day. When I was a kid, you could see characters like this in the circus, sideshow or fair, freak show or something like that. And now, of course, you can see them walking the streets and around town. That was so uncommon in my day that if you wanted to see somebody like that, you had to go to the circus.
Hey, man.
You'd never see anybody like that out in town. And the reason being, the only place they could get a job would be with the circus. And I wonder about some of these other characters we looked at, who would hire them? All right, we're going to do some study now. You leave it up there for now, Carl. We'll read some more things in a few
Government
minutes.
might hire.
Sir?
The government might hire and keep them discriminated.
Well, the government has freaks working for it, but they don't look quite like that, I don't think. Okay. Now, if you look around, you think everybody's getting tattoos these days. I mean, you see them all over the place. And by the way, statistics say 60% of the people with tattoos are women. And used to, no women got them at all, but now it's a common thing. You see women walking around town with tattoos. Celebrities get them, they push them. Movie people, athletes, politicians, women or men, kids, old, rich, poor, doesn't matter. Bikers, bankers, it doesn't matter what their status is. Even toys get tattoos.
Yeah.
Barbie has tattoos, and some of them are just as ungodly as some of these things we've seen already. And Tattoodles doll. I don't know if that's still out. That came out about 10 years ago. Tattoodles, a little girl doll, about so tall, blonde hair with tattoos on her. Anybody remember seeing those dolls? Okay, one person saw them. Okay. So I don't guess they're still out, but they were out for a while. And now they've invaded the Christian world.
Sure.
And the fastest growing segment of tattoo parlors is Christian tattoo parlors.
That's right.
Bad. Give me the next frame there, Ron. So what's that? That's a Christian tattoo. There's Jesus. There's the bleeding heart, Catholicism. There's the Bible. There's the cross. There's Jesus again. This is Jesus again. This is, you can only see Eve. Adam's around the other side of his arm. Adam and Eve. And I think this is Jerusalem here. You can't see, it's kind of blurred, but I could not identify the rest of the stuff, but I suspect there's subliminal stuff in there. You probably can't tell from there, but there's a face right there on the belly of Jesus. A lot of subliminal things going on in these things. Can you imagine a Christian having that? What's he going to say at the judgment seat of Christ if he's really saved? Lord, I got your picture, see? And of course, those are Catholic pictures. You know Jesus didn't look nothing like any of that stuff anyway. Okay, now we're going to examine tattoos historically and cuttings and from the Word of God, and we're going to discover a few things in this study. We're going to discover that the tattoo is directly connected to the satanic practice of bloodletting, that is Satanism. We're going to discover, secondly, that it's forbidden by the Lord. You already read that.
Amen.
We're going to discover that the tattoo, even in commercial studios, is the #1 carrier of hepatitis C virus, which kills people. It's a deadly virus. And we're going to find out, #4, that it symbolizes the mark of Satan from Revelation chapter 13. And again, if you're wondering why this subject, our young people coming up now need to see it, because if they don't, some of them will get tattoos when they're out from under mom and dad's roof.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Why? Because it's our culture anymore. It's
Yes,
the
sir.
culture, it's the society, it's the thing to do. And like I said, until a few years ago, you only saw them in circuses. 40 years ago, 20 years ago, you only saw them on bikers and heavy metal rockers and criminals and lowlifes and social outcasts and all that kind of stuff. But now they're everywhere. They're on everybody. And people with high status in society, have tattoos. And it's promoted everywhere. 35% of all NBA players have at least one tattoo. Sports reporters say that tattoo percentages is about the same in professional football and baseball and hockey as well. And even the conservative golf world has its tattooed heroes like Lee Trevino and Tiger Woods. They have tattoos. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter. And that's why it's so socially accepted in our day. And that's why there's probably kids whining at their mom and dad, why can't I have a tattoo? Everybody else does. And sure enough, everybody else does. National Geographic News. I'm going to give you a lot of quotes and information tonight and get this thing kind of groundwork. National Geographic News says 15% of all Americans are tattooed. 15%. The Alliance Professional Tattooists, and this is a professional organization for tattooists, estimates over 39 million Americans now have tattoos. Details Magazine published a poll that stated 22% of 18 to 25-year-olds have at least one tattoo, and also estimated that 60% of the tattooed are women. A Texas Tech University School of Nursing study consisting of over 2,100 adolescents from 8 different states showed that 1 in 10 adolescents were tattooed, and over half were planning on getting tattooed. That's little kids. Now, from what I understand, underage, they can't get one unless their parents allow them in the tattoo parlor or something like that. Another study estimated 25% of all 15 to 25-year-olds are tattooed. The average age of getting tattooed is 16 years old. And some receive their first tattoo as young as 8 years old. Those kids are being programmed to just fall right into society today and away from God.
Amen.
Brian, I'm sorry you're late, brother. I had your picture up there a while ago.
I've been watching. Girlfriend.
U.S. News and World Report said tattooing is the country's 6th fastest growing retail business, and growing at the amazing rate of more than one new tattoo studio opening every day. I think you can drive downtown on Miracle Strip Parkway. There's 4 or 5 there in one block. Yes.
There's 4 when I drive in from our house to the bar to Mill Parkway.
There's 4 on the street down there. And you cross the bridge, there's 3 or 4 more just past that red light. Lycos, which is a search engine for internet, is one of the first ones put on the internet. It ranks top 50 search words every week, and they found tattoos was 4th most searched word. Jesus or Christ did not even make the top 100 list. They said the Bible ranked number 18 in their poll. Their 50 elite list, which is the 50 most popular topics in history, ranks tattoos as number 7. Lycos was started in 1994, so they're going from that year on. Number 7 of the most 50 search topics. In other words, the world's tattoo crazy. The major promoter in Christianity in professing Christianity is Christian rock groups, okay? And they got plenty of tattoos on those characters, and that leads thousands of professing Christian kids. You understand when I say professing? Okay, you understand what I mean? They may or may not be saved. Their church may or may not belong to God, but they're professing Christianity. And they call themselves being marked for Jesus when they get their Christian tattoos. By the way, there's a list, a web list for churches that are ink. Let's see how they call it. What's the word? If you welcome somebody, I can't think of the word they use, but anyway, they use the word ink, whatever the word I'm looking for. Ink friendly. Thank you. And in the list, there was only one in Northwest Florida. It's over in Pensacola. There's a church called Solomon's Porch on Davis Street there. And I looked up their website, and strangely enough, they had the gospel on there, and they had how to be saved, and had correct doctrine except for the book. Divine Original is what they were holding on to. And of course, they're semi-charismatic. What I mean by that is, strangely enough, they don't allow tongue speaking or anything during the service. And the pastor said that would be out of order, because if the preacher stand there teaching and preaching from the Bible, the Holy Spirit would not interrupt himself. Oh, that's a pretty good statement. So they leave that kind of stuff for private meetings or at their house or whatever. Anyway, the pastor has no tattoos, but he sees nothing wrong with them. And so, again, the fastest growing trend is Christian tattoos. Christian Tattoo Association, that's how big it is. They got their own national association. They, of course, do away with verses like we just read in Leviticus, things like that. Just like the abortionists do away with verses dealing with them. And the homosexuals do away with verses dealing with them, and so on and so forth, okay? All right, Carl, put the next one up. Number 1, the mark of tattoos, if you want to take notes, the mark is blood. And the first point we want to make under there is that tattoos have to do with self-mutilation and satanic bloodletting. Put the next picture on. This is at a rock concert. This guy flagellated his back, which means to whip it until he was bleeding in the rock concert. That's not uncommon. And by the way, that is a common practice in Muslimism, Islam. They do it once a year, doing penance because of Muhammad's brother was killed in battle, and on the date of his death, they do that to punish themselves for not being there to help him win the battle and not get killed. Isn't that the dumbest thing you've ever heard of? We're talking about 700 years ago. Help him get killed, yeah. All right, bloodletting. It means to allow to pass, to let the blood flow. Let means let something go by. Let the blood flow. and it's one of the oldest and one of the most common satanic practices. Definition, cutting of the flesh or bloodletting. Cutting of the flesh and bloodletting are rituals performed to unleash demonic and supernatural powers. That's what they believe. And it goes on to say, because the life of the flesh is in the blood. Leviticus 17:11. The life of the flesh is in the blood, and because of that, they prize blood as a power source. Well, it's powerful only in your own body. It ain't powerful at all outside. Okay? It gives life to the blood inside. But they think releasing that blood, letting the blood, that they have untapped a power source there, or tapped a power source of supernatural power. The Dictionary of Cults, Sects, S-E-C-T-S, Religions, and the Occult gives this definition for blood. Satanism, the vitalizing or life-giving agent used in the sacrament of the Black Mass. Blood is believed to provide power and life, and therefore plays a central part in ritualistic sacrifices, end of quote. So what's that have to do with tattoos? You can't get a tattoo without bloodletting. We'll see that a little bit later in case you don't understand that. The Encyclopedia of Witches and Witchcraft gives this definition for blood, quote, called the river of life. Blood is identified with the soul and is the vehicle that carries the vital energy of the universe through the body. Your blood's not identified with your soul at all. The blood of Jesus is identified with your soul. Your blood is identified with your flesh. It goes on in the definition, it says, in magic, blood is revered and feared for the miraculous power it possesses and confers. Blood that is let is believed to unleash power, end of quote. And by the way, some tattoo artists perform rituals while they're doing tattoos. And before they do, during the procedure, in order to unleash supernatural powers in themselves, and some of them even lick the blood off of the person while they're tattooing them because they believe that it gives them some sort of supernatural power.
You say a lot of those places have AIDS.
Yes, sir. AIDS and hepatitis common. Go to 1 Kings chapter 18. Next frame, Carl. 1 Kings 18. Let's read a few verses. 1 Kings 18, verse 25. Now I am come up without the Lord against this place. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong Kings. Okay, 1 Kings. 18:25. And Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you one bullock for yourselves and dress it first. For ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, which is just another term for Satan, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them, and said, cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in a journey, or peradventure he sleepeth, and must be awaked. Thank God our God does never have to be awaked.
Yes, thank
He
you.
neither sleepeth nor slumbereth, the Bible says. Amen. And they cried aloud, and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lances, till the blood gushed out. Carl, put the rest of that up there. Don't go past it. Oh, you got it? Okay, already. Thank you, sir. Now, that passage is giving you a detailed example of bloodletting. They cut themselves with knives and lances, till the blood gushed out upon them. That's done by Satanists, the prophets of Baal in this passage. And what are they attempting to do? Unleash supernatural power. Unleash the powers of Baal. And what they want to do in this particular passage is call down fire from heaven to burn up their sacrifice, which of course never happened. Look at verse 28 again. They cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner. In other words, bloodletting was a common practice among Baalite priests, prophets of the devil. after their manner with knives and lances till the blood gushed out upon them. That is devil worshiping, that is self-mutilation, that is bloodletting. And it's also a common practice among all pagan, wicked nations that were in Canaan when Abraham got there. They were practicing these things. And of course, as I said, it comes from Africa, and all those Canaanite nations are African nations. Look at Leviticus chapter 21. Leviticus 21.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
You know how historically they used bloodletting to cure with leeches?
Yes.
Did that originate from Africa? Like did the British pick that up and then we carried it over into America?
I can't really say that. That's what killed George Washington, by the way, bloodletting. I can't really say. It was a practice among physicians from about 1500 on. It was the idea they had, I don't know where they got the idea, they let the blood out of, they thought the body was in balance when you had a disease, so they let the blood out of one side to balance everything. And of course, they overdid it with some people, like Mr. Washington. But I don't know where that originated, but it probably came from African witch doctors and stuff like that. I would guess, yeah. Sure. Shamans. Okay, chapter 21, verse 5. They shall not make baldness upon their head. So what's that got to do with anything? Well, we'll see a little bit later how that's a religious practice. Neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. Now, that's the second time God has warned them about that. They shall be holy unto their God. Well, if they make a cutting in their flesh, are they holy unto God or unholy unto God? They'd be unholy. And not profane the name of their God. So to make cuttings in the flesh profanes the name of God. For the offerings of the Lord made by fire and the bread of their God they do offer. Therefore they shall be holy. Of course, he's talking about the priesthood. They offer before the Lord, so they're not supposed to do any of this kind of stuff. It profanes God and makes them unholy in the sight of God. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 14. Deuteronomy 14. And this is informal. If you need to ask something or say something, that'd be
I
fair.
have a question though.
Yes, sir.
About cutting in your flesh, how about piercing ears?
Piercing of the ears is allowed in the Bible except for men. Okay, the only men that did it were pagans back in the book of Exodus. Israel, when they were in captivity, Israel never did any of that stuff when they were in captivity. They yielded to the pagan practices going on in the country. And when they came out of captivity, when Aaron was going to make the golden calf, he said, break off the earrings from your daughters and your sons. So the boys started doing that in the pagan society. You ladies are okay. But personally, I would think you're okay with one, not 15.
Yeah.
Just my opinion, okay?
Modest apparel.
Modest earrings. Deuteronomy 14, verse 1. You are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves. That's the third time. You'd think once would be enough, but here's 3 times God said that. Nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. So, well, when somebody gets a tattoo and all that, and cutting themselves, they're not doing it for the dead. That's exactly what they're doing it for. It's for the dead. They don't realize that, but it is. Give us one more. All right, number 2. Tattoos through bloodletting are connected with demon possession. Look at Mark chapter 5. Mark chapter 5. Mark 5. So, well, I know people with tattoos, they don't have demons. Are you sure of that? You've never seen one, so are you sure? Mark 5, familiar passage, verse 1, they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately they met him out of the tombs, look where this guy lives, a man with an unclean spirit who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any maintain him. Would you say he had some kind of supernatural deal going on here? I mean, break chains. It's demonic. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice and said, What have I, now this is the devil inside of him talking, what have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. And he, Jesus, said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. Roman legion, 2,000 troops. Some of the legions had 6,000. This guy's overloaded with devils. So, he's living with the dead. He's cutting himself. He's screaming and moaning. He has no good contact with anybody. Nobody had anything to do with him. In Luke's version of this, Luke says that this man had these devils a long time. Luke 8, verse 27, and when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man which had devils long time and abode in the tombs. Not only says here his dwelling place among the tombs, he says he's living in the tombs. And he had devils a long time. This is 2,000 years ago. And of course, that practice was going on long before 2,000 years ago. The practice of cutting yourself and bloodletting there's a long history of it, dealing with Satanism. Almost as soon as Noah got out of the ark, this stuff started, demonism and occultism and all that stuff. The Encyclopedia of American Religions, under the definition of Satanism, it lists bloodletting, quote, among the activities of Satanists. And it says in this branch of Satanism, this branch of bloodletting, one can expect to find those individuals engaged in grave robbery, sexual assaults, and ritual bloodletting. In satanic services, they sometimes drink the blood of the people. They bleed themselves, they drink the blood, and so on. And by the way, there's young folks now that call themselves vampires. Of course, they're not. But when they have their parties and stuff, they will cut themselves, they'll bleed themselves and drink each other's blood. So what is that? That's demon possession. Devil worship. In an article in The Independent, which is a newspaper, it said, quote, the Association of Teachers and Lecturers said the popularity of children's programs and books featuring witchcraft, so like what? Well, like Harry Potter. Right. Featuring witchcraft could encourage children to search for sinister material on the internet. Researchers for the Union found websites promoting Satanism, bloodletting, and Wicca, which is witchcraft. One website found by the Union describes in detail how to carry out bloodletting and blood drinking. And they encourage them through these books for kids to go search it out and practice that. Well, I'm going to quit right there. We'll look at some more things on that next time. Any comments, any questions?